When older Americans deal with serious health concerns, family members are often asked to step up to the challenge. With little or no preparation, they often take on the role as caregiver.
Have you been a caregiver? If so, you know it can be both extremely difficult and incredibly rewarding. Today's show is about family caregivers. I'm Ed Beimfohr.
And I'm Margot St. Ledger, and this is The Voice. Today we're talking about family caregivers. We have been speaking with Chloe Jean-Paul of the National Family Caregivers Association.
And we're being joined now by Dorothy Brenninger. She's a former caregiver herself and a nationally recognized expert on life organization. She has also co-authored two workbooks for caregivers that we'll touch upon later on the show. Welcome, Dorothy.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a personal experience with caregiving?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. In that I'm an organizer. I have at least 750 clients, most of whom are seniors.
Oh my.
So I do a lot of caregiving, but I also have personal experience as well.
Okay. So you took what you learned personally and transferred it. Were you needing organization when you were personally a caregiver? Did you find that was going to help your situation?
Yeah, and in fact, my business partner, Debbie, who is the co-author of the book with her daughter, Lynn, they actually had an experience with their dad, and that's where we really came together to find how to create our books, the systems, what people need to know, the medications, all those things we need to keep track of.
It's tremendously challenging, as Margot and I have both been caregivers, and we speak from experience that managing your life, the new responsibility, which can be overwhelming if you don't manage it well.
Exactly.
In addition to your own career, your own family, just the time management dimension of this is enormous.
Well, you're taking on someone else's life, essentially. So, what do you recommend in the areas of? I mean, we're gonna look at your organization plan later in the show, but what are some approaches someone can take, especially if they're just starting to get into a caregiving situation?
Well, when people are just starting to get into a caregiving situation, the best thing is to plan early. Most of us think, well, I might have my mom move in or dad move in, down the road if they need. And the truth is, we're all just one phone call away from some sort of medical crisis. And we want to have these things in place, all of the paperwork, all of the doctor's names, directions to the hospital, even, the things, preferences that our mom or dad or sibling might need to feel good about themselves, feel safe.
Well, since we still have Chloe here, from your side of it as well, let's talk about, aside from the tangible management right now in organization, how we deal with the emotional, the stress, and that part of it, how we organize our stresses. And coming from the story that you just recently shared about how we can approach unfortunate situations, but just of somebody being mad, being upset, not knowing why they're upset, that kind of thing. And then how do we manage our own stresses based upon their stresses? So why don't you take us through a little bit of that, Chloe?
Well, in terms of caregivers, I identify the three major emotions that they feel as the FGA factor: frustration, guilt, and anger. And the anger can stem from, it's neither good nor bad, but it can stem from many things. Lack of sleep, feeling trapped, and I equate that to fever. What the fever is to your body, telling you that there's something really wrong here, that's what anger is to your emotional system.
Right.
And you need to address it. You need to find out what the anger stems from. The guilt. A lot of people are long-distance caregivers, and they can't be there all the time, and they feel guilty. And so you have to kind of relabel things. Instead of saying, I should visit more often, it would be nice if I could visit more often. And also the frustration. I don't care how much you love somebody, that day-to-day caregiving is going to take everything out of you.
And particularly when you have to deal with a medical institution, as if, for instance, which is a bureaucracy.
We all have triggers, and those triggers can be activated with something happening currently, but it allows you to go back in time and remember another incident similar that really upset you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's pushing your buttons. It's not the present situation.
Right, it's something that's
that
already
happened
existing.
a long time ago.
An incredible amount of patience, I think, is needed. And I mean, even if you've parented and you know the patience that's been needed for a child, it still cannot compare, because you're dealing with a grown adult who you have to have respect for in a completely different way. But, you know, Chloe mentioned something that I found interesting, and what do you have to say about organization and managing when you are in a long-term situation versus the close to home? I mean, how do we cope with something like that?
Well, I have some answers to that, and you actually mentioned a factor that you have, and I have what's called the O factor, which is overtired, overwhelmed, overeating, all those things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the person for whom we're doing the caregiving, it really is helping them to feel secure. Knowing that everybody knows how to handle their situation. If there's a changing of the guard and another family is coming in to care for this person, so one can go on vacation, just really being able to transfer the information, showing it to our parents. This is what we see. These are your medications. This is...
Yeah, Dorothy, how do you recommend dealing with a situation wherein one family member is willing to step up and take on this role, but the rest of the family is willing to take a step back and just let you deal with it?
Oh, I know. It seems really unfair, and that's why I get so many calls as a professional organizer. For some reason, you know, we're spread out across the country, and one person needs to step in and sort of be in the middle of this wheel of all the agencies and the doctors and the family members and the getting rid of and the downsizing and the moving.
Right. I mean, you're all of a sudden you're going through their personal things. You're now managing their bank account, their money, making decisions for
their
them,
healthcare
and
decisions.
their healthcare decisions. Absolutely. Well, I mean, as we take on this topic, and there may be a lot of our viewers out there, I'm sure, who are maybe in denial that it's coming their way, maybe now realizing, you might be realizing that this is coming your way, or you might be right now entrenched in it going, oh my gosh, I need some help. So let's offer as much information as we can from the two point of views that you have at the time you have left on what people can do in these certain situations. So why don't you start?
Well, first of all, when we're talking about caregiving, just having the emergency things available, the information available. Because I was just watching on a news program this morning, if you're having a heart attack and you can be done in 90 minutes at the ER room, done in a good way, I mean, if you're prepared.
Okay.
And just think of the time you can shave off by simply having already a durable power of attorney, by having all this information. When we go into the ER with either my clients or my mom, they love us.
Because you've got all the paperwork necessary.
Yeah, because you came in prepared,
Yeah.
unlike so
and
many others.
For some reason, no, not for some reason, we get better treatment. You know, if someone's disorganized and can't find, then they're going to say, okay,
Right.
you fill that
They're not
out,
gonna have to
and
deal
they'll
with it
focus on
themselves.
us, and then we go right on through.
How about a suggestion from you, Chloe, for
I'll tell you what
getting
I just did,
Yeah.
and we shared this before the show. First of all, on the back of my driver's license, I have a card pasted that says, I have advanced directives, call, and my son's name with his number, and with large capital letters, do not resuscitate, signed and dated. Now, I understand in the last legislative session for Maryland that they did pass a bill that is going to allow the Department of Motor Vehicles to have that on the back of somebody's driver's license who would like to have that. But I took it one step further, especially after that Terry Schiavo fiasco.
Right, and we should tell our audience, please check with your particular state that you live in, because it'll change state to state.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
But I invited a professional videographer into my home to videotape me giving my advance directives. I have them in writing, but I had DVDs made. My children have them. My sister has a copy. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts as to what this gal
you're
wants.
clearly well prepared. But let's now turn this around and talk about what is this experience like for the person receiving care, because it's a challenge for them as well. Dorothy, I see you nodding over here.
Yeah.
I see a lot of happy faces. I see a lot
Well, that's
of...
good news.
Yeah, it is good news. A lot of people feeling secure in knowing that people understand their preferences, understand their medical situation, that they don't have to find or go through the trauma of pulling the information together for their health, that it just can be on a continuum very
And, you know, my mom has tried to talk to me about it, and finally I started talking to, I listened, because for a while I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about you dying. I don't want to talk about getting sick. But what happened was, once I started just saying, okay, I'll listen, she was so happy because she said, I don't want to leave my family in a state that's going to cause them
Exactly.
difficulty. And I think if you take it from that approach, realizing you're actually, you know, going to keep them from becoming, you know, where they're fighting or whatever make happen, it's a gift.
And certainly that's reassuring, but at the same time, the person receiving care is also giving up a great deal of their independence.
There's freedoms, yeah.
Chloe, how do they deal with that?
Well, yeah, you give up the independence. I'm in that state as we speak because I am now in my 70th year. And as I explained to my children recently, I have a 5-year plan. We will reevaluate at the end of 5 years if I'm still on this planet. And in the case of our parents, so many of them were from the Depression era and before that, and so the thinking was far different. They were so afraid of giving up anything because they had to struggle so hard
To
for
get
the
it.
little that
Yeah.
they had.
Right.
I could not convince my dad to turn the property over to us at a time when it would have
Yeah.
been advisable to
Right.
do it. He thought we were robbing him blind.
Right.
So I had to let it go.
But we're living longer now. And so maybe that thought process and that state of mind will change our point of views a
Oh,
little
definitely.
bit. We absolutely have to wrap up. I'm sorry to say so. The time goes so quick. Thank you so much for being with us, Chloe, today on The Voice. And when we come back, we're going to have Dorothy show us some of these fabulous products she has helped develop with caregivers in mind. Stay with us.
We're back now with Dorothy Brenninger, author and life organization expert. And she's here to tell us about 2 workbooks that are of particular use to caregivers. Welcome back, Dorothy.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So it's fabulous to have you here because you've created a system that most people are piecemealing together at home. But this really gives us inspiration to get it started. So what do we get in our organization set here?
You get a few things.
Okay.
Lots of information that you put in, but something that's expandable. This is the senior organizer.
Okay.
And I'll take you through this in a minute.
And that's his personal and medical here at the bottom.
Yeah.
because they're
Exactly.
different
and
ones,
we,
right?
we can't emphasize too much, as Margot just noted, you either get a hold of one of these or you build it by yourself one piece at a time,
Yeah.
and that just adds to the task and the chore.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we have, it's a 3-binder set, actually.
Okay.
So the first volume, as you mentioned, is medical, personal, then legal, financial, and then this one is a travel, so that if you're off to the emergency room, you can
take
just
it
grab
with,
that
yeah.
or take it when you're traveling.
Okay. And so this is something that senior keeps at their home, and then this is a separate one,
Yeah,
kind of a breakaway.
This is the same thing.
Okay.
This is what the person would keep at home, right? My parent or
Okay.
sibling would keep at home if I'm caregiving for them. And this information is always there. Then I would have this, or other family members would have this across the country. It's the same
That's your
material.
resource.
But if I'm not living near my mom, then I can
Yeah.
help make decisions or
Okay.
know her
So
medications.
what do we do with this? What is the organization going to give us?
Right.
Take us through.
I'm going to take you through
Yeah,
a few.
absolutely.
But for example, and this is actually created by Debbie and Lynn, my business partners.
Okay.
And this is their father.
Oh, look.
And he is no longer living, and this is his binder, and I can't believe how amazing it was to watch what it was like to see a real organized caregiving situation experienced. So, but something like as simple as having the placard in here, we all
Yep.
think, oh, I'll just hang it in my car.
yeah,
But what
get
if
that
we
parking
have
space,
what
yeah.
if we have multiple drivers? So you keep it
Sure,
here,
great idea.
and then you've always got it on you.
Okay, and we're
Okay.
broken into key sections
Yeah.
here, I see.
Lots of different sections, starting off with in case of an emergency. So if you go here, this is what
Please
the
notify.
ER needs right away. And most importantly, right here is the durable power of attorney.
Oh, right.
You want to get that in because that's one of the first questions they ask in an emergency
Absolutely.
situation.
I like how
Or
you
in
have it
legal
in the,
or
in the,
financial or-
covered plastic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you might be sitting in the hospital lounge, or you never know where you're going to be, and you don't want the coffee. It keeps it nice and protected. So that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
And if you become a caregiver, you will be astonished at the number of times that you're asked,
You'll use
document your
this.
power of attorney,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's not a conversation you really want to be having with a parent right before surgery. And that was what happened with my mom and me. And actually, I'm doing caregiving for my mom right now.
Oh, okay.
My sister and I moved in together so that we could partner up
Oh,
and
nice.
hang out with my mom. So this is really, really important.
And so we have personal. I see it's tabbed nicely
Yeah.
with personal, medical, and
Personal care, just the daily
Okay.
things, and then personal interests so that the caregiver knows the kinds of things that that person likes to do, contact information, and more.
And so things like a list of all the appropriate physicians would be here, all
Yes.
the medications.
Exactly. Here's
If
medications
there's
listed.
a living will or instructions on medical care, that would be in this binder as well?
Yes, and excuse me,
Yeah.
I want to say that in the legal and financial, you may not necessarily want to keep those documents in the binder. You may
Okay.
we have locator sheets in here so that you can say it's in the safe or in the lockbox.
But for the reason we just talked about off camera, the legal binder, because my mom had a situation with my great aunt where people came forth after she had died and were like, well, where'd the money go? Nobody wanted to take care of her at the time when she was struggling. My mom did,
Yeah.
but she had to make choices financially. So you have the legal binder when anybody comes forth afterwards to say,
Right.
this is where it went. So if you want to know questions, take a look at this,
exactly.
because it protects you in a way
Yeah.
as well as them,
Yeah,
right?
And,
Yes.
and you don't know when someone may come forward after a person passes. There may be someone come forward and make a claim on the estate and
Oh,
claim that,
yes.
well, back in so many years ago, such and such was agreed to or wasn't paid, and you're going to need to be able to document all of this for some time to come.
Yeah, you should hold on to it for a good long time. Well, let's talk about this one as well, because this is a different binder, Cherished Memories,
Yes.
which is a separate purchase, but something you also make available, right? So actually, you know what? I'll swap you. How about
I'll go
that?
this way, you go
There
that way.
You can
Perfect.
present that one to
and,
us.
And this is actually, keep track of your legacy, but we use this in terms of how a caregiver can relate to the person for whom they're giving care. So, for example, let's see my mom. We're filling it out together. And in fact, when we filled out the Senior Organizer and Cherished Memories, when my mom was in the hospital having knee surgery recently, I took it with me, and we were just filling out the books and binders.
What do you
right
say
there.
to any of your clients who say, it's too much, I can't fill all that out, what do you say to them?
I say, exactly, who would want to? So I agree.
Right.
And then I say, but let's just grab one page and see what happens. And I just
And
do
your
little
favorite
bits at a
pen.
time. And my favorite pen.
Yeah.
And your-
Look,
yes.
there
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
So it's divided into different years of our lives, but
Oh,
it also
wow.
includes a health history, which is
Okay.
really, really important. You want to keep track and save the next generation. And declare what's been going on very
Right.
specifically.
That's very good for someone who comes into the picture later. You go to the doctor and you say, well, what's the health
Yes.
history of your family? Oh, I really don't
Exactly.
know. I mean, you don't know all that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah,
and when we
inherited
recently
history.
worked on genealogy, great way to help you if you're doing your
Sure.
genealogy chart.
Right. And if people have other books that they've done, not necessarily using this one, but just having the photographs allows the caregiver to
add things.
Oh, how
understand
wonderful.
who's who and
How
helps
wonderful.
those with dementia
Yeah, and
remember.
dated. Oh, yes,
Right?
absolutely. Gives them a touch point into their past.
Exactly. You put some
Always.
photos. Well, because it's in binder form, you can add anything you like. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
Great
thanks
stuff.
to you and your partners for developing it. And of
Great
course, thank
stuff,
you so much
Dorothy.
for being here on
You're
The
welcome.
Voice. This book and this entire system looks like a great idea, a gift idea for the caregivers in your family and your life.
And a little later, we'll let you know where you can acquire these things for yourself.
Stay with us. We hope you've enjoyed our show today, and we'd like to extend a special thank you to all of our caregivers out there.
Be sure to tune into The Voice every day for subjects that inform, involve, and inspire you. And if you'd like to find out more about the Senior Organizer and Cherished Memories binders, go to www.delphihealthproducts.com.
Or you can send questions or comments directly to us at thevoice@rl.tv. I'm Margot St. Ledger.
And I'm Ed Beimfohr. Enjoy your day.